What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for coming back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about House of a Thousand Corpses. So as you can tell from the thumbnail and the title, I have Benny Wan Kenobi here in this video. We're going to hear from him in just one moment, but a big thanks to him for being in this video. So here I am with another Rob Zombie directed film for you to review, and yeah, I've already done the 2 Halloween films that he did in the mid-2000s, and yeah, I wanted to go back to one that always kind of sat in my mind as one of my favorites. I recently purchased it on Blu-ray and decided to revisit it, and yeah, going back and watching it, it's definitely not a film for everybody. It's definitely not an outstanding film. It's not a very well-written film, but there's something about this film that I enjoy watching. This film can be described as hillbilly torture porn horror. That's essentially the kind of film that this is. If you've ever seen something like Leatherface or any of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, it's something along those lines. You know, you have this family of psychopathic hillbillies that love to torture people, peel off their skin, and just kind of do things with their bodies. And yeah, that's essentially what this film is. I think where the creep factor definitely comes in is the performances in this film. You have people like Sid Haig, Sheri Moon Zombie, Rob Zombie's wife, who's in all of these films, Bill Moseley, and then you also have people like Rainn Wilson in this film, and Chris Hardwick, and there's a lot of other faces that you'll recognize in here, and some people you'll definitely never recognize in this film. But yeah, this is a film about 2 couples who are going across country, and they're essentially writing a journal of the different crazy places that they've been on this journey. They're going to one of the girls' father's house where they're going to be spending the night, or going just there in general. They don't really ever say if it's just for the night or whatnot. But yeah, they end up getting caught up in this madness with this crazy hillbilly family, and that's essentially the film. I'm sure you can imagine where that would go. Obviously, you can't 100% imagine where it goes because it does go to some really crazy places. But yeah, that's essentially the basic premise of this film, is you have this young group of people who get caught up with this crazy psychopath family. And yeah, you know, what I really enjoy about this film are some of the performances, specifically from Sid Haig, who plays one of the most iconic current modern horror characters, Captain Spaulding, as well as Bill Moseley's character, Otis. I really enjoy the 2 of them in this film. They give really creepy, eerie performances, and there's a comedy to this film as well. There's something about the way that the characters act and the way things go down, specifically from Captain Spaulding, that can be really funny at times.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ski King. Why don't you just take your mama home some chicken, and then I won't have to stuff my boot all up in your ass.
But yeah, this film can definitely be eerie. I don't remember the name of the character, but there's one of the characters that's part of this hillbilly family that's this really big, tall, deformed character whose face is kind of really just, and he wears this mask over him, and he's very eerie, very creepy, and he just kind of sits there most of the time. And when he moves, it's definitely unsettling. And yeah, this is a film that I think visually is definitely unsettling and uncomfortable. And just the premise itself, as you're watching, it definitely makes you feel uncomfortable. It's not a very well-written film. It's nothing that's very compelling on a narrative standpoint. But I do find myself really enjoying this film when I go back and watching it, just on the creep factor and just how uncomfortable it makes me feel. I think Rob Zombie's always been really good at being able to create very uncomfortable and dark and grimy feeling scenes and settings. And this film is definitely no different. I think that this film definitely has one of the more grimy and gucky kind of feeling films that any of the ones that he's done before. But yeah, on an overall level, this isn't something that I can necessarily recommend. On a narrative level, you're not going to be compelled or attached to the characters. It's kind of just one of those crazy rides that you're just kind of watching to see unfold. One thing I definitely never really love about Rob Zombie films, and really any of them, is his dialogue. A lot of the dialogue is just really over the top. Sometimes it lends itself to being really funny and really silly, but sometimes it lends itself to just kind of being cringe, or just kind of making you look at to the other person that you're sitting there watching the movie with and just thinking, who wrote that line?
Tell you a little story.
Eat your mom's pussy! Licking and chomping on her pussy, and she's screaming and yelling, and she just legs and homes out to crush my balls.
And this film is actually the beginning of a trilogy. You have this film, then you have Devil's Rejects, and then you have the more recent one, 3 from Hell. I actually haven't even seen 3 from Hell, but yeah, I watched this one and Devil's Rejects recently, and I'd seen them many times prior to this. I think I enjoy the aesthetics, the overall feel and creepiness of this one more than Devil's Rejects, but I enjoy the time that's spent with the main 3 characters in the next film, The Devil's Rejects. So I will have a review for that coming soon. But yeah, on an overall level, I enjoy the settings, I enjoy the set design, I enjoy the costume design, and I enjoy the creepiness of this. There's a conceptual real creepiness to this that they end up not really digging deep into in the next other films, especially when it comes to Dr. Satan and everything that's going on underground under this house. There's some really creepy imagery and some stuff in here that is just really well done on a horror standpoint. But I just wish that the story would have been a lot stronger. There isn't necessarily like a bunch of really great kills either, because a lot of the characters who are found to be killed end up getting killed off screen, or if they get killed on screen, it's kind of brief. And a lot of the stuff that's eerier, the stuff that ends up happening to characters in the moment, is just more the uncomfortable feeling of being around these really sick and demented people while they're just kind of sitting there and you know, enjoying your body or looking at you or talking about what they're gonna do, or kind of forcing you to be a part of just sitting there, and them themselves just kind of being gross and being ugly and just kind of being disgusting people is really where the horror factor of this film comes in. Now, before I give you my final thoughts on this film, let's go ahead and hear what Benny Wan Kenobi had to say about this.
Hey everybody, it's Benny Wan Kenobi, and I'm back with Anthony today to review House of a Thousand Corpses. Bro, what in the hell do you have me watching? This movie was messed up, disgusting, crazy shit. I have seen Rob Zombie's 2 Halloween movies. I have not seen this movie. This movie was screwed up, bro. I'm not a big fan of these type of horror movies, to tell you the truth. I'm more into the slasher flicks like, you know, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Child's Play, all of those type, you know. I don't really like these type of horror movies because, for one, they're disturbing. I mean, there's gore. Don't get me wrong, there's gore, but it's disgusting gore. Like the cutting the skin off and wearing people's skin type gore. So I would have to say that my favorite character in the movie would be Dr. Spaulding. I know the actor that played him recently actually passed away last year, but I remember seeing him in other movies. He was actually in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, which I actually like Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, so that's why I was like, well, I'll check, you know, Anthony wants me to check this out so I can do a review with him, so why not? I'll check it out. So, but the basic premise of the story in this movie is there's 2 couples that are out kind of in the middle of nowhere back in the late 70s, and they're out seeking these sideshow crazy attractions that are just way out there and wild, and they're trying to write like a book on it. So this movie takes place before the internet, cell phones, yada yada. So basically what these people get away with doing to these kids, you know, it's a lot easier back then because technology did not exist, and it all rolls downhill from there for me. I thought it was funny though that I was watching to see how long it would take for the Rob Zombie shit to kick in the movie, and it was about 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's when Dr. Spaulding started doing that backwoods hillbilly shit talking, the way that that freaking dialogue that he has in all of his movies, man. It didn't take very long, that's for damn sure. Just like all of them does, even the Halloween movies. It's just the way it is. It's what Rob Zombie does. He has a style. I can respect the dude for that. The song that he did for this, the House of a Thousand Corpses song, I love that song. I love Rob Zombie's music. I'm not a huge fan of his movies, unfortunately. Just one, really, the first Halloween. But yeah, and then from there, the kids go, Dr. Spaulding sends them out to the farmhouse, and that's where I get a lot of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes from this movie. Like, a lot of that. Like, it's basically, to me, this movie was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but Rob Zombie style. Like, he put his own little twist on that Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In fact, the original director of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually praised this movie, which I can totally understand because it's literally a knockoff of his movie. Like, it really is. Because once they get to that farmhouse, they trick them into coming in the house, and, you know, they be nice to him. And then once they know they got him, man, they all go cuckoo fucking crazy on these people, man. These 2 young couples, and they're screwed. You know they're screwed. Once they go out to that house and shit starts happening to their car, whatever, you know they're screwed. You just know that they're not leaving that farmhouse. They might show you that there's hope or light in the tunnel, but they're fucked. You know they're all done. They're gonna die. Their crazy shit's gonna happen to them, like Hills Have Eyes type crazy stuff. This movie was crazy, demented shit. I mean, this is Rob Zombie's background. It's what he lives for. He's a big horror fan. I'm just into the slasher flicks. I'm not into these type of movies. They're just a little too messed up for me, and the gore just goes too far. Like, there's one part where the dad character of the family, literally one of the girls' fathers shows up there with the police, and he cuts her dad's face and chest off, like skins him, and then wears it and goes up to her and says, "Who's your daddy?" And then he kisses her with her dad's fucking face on.
And I'm the one who loves you when you're fucking dead.
I'm sorry, that shit is just too messed up for me. I don't like these kind of horror movies, I guess. I don't know. The movie was okay, I guess. So thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed doing these collab videos, and yeah, I'll send it back to you, man. Peace out.
Big thanks for Benny being in this video. You guys can find his link to his channel down in the description box down below. He is consistently doing tons of different reviews, unboxings, as well as digital code giveaways. So if you guys are into that kind of stuff, definitely follow the link down below and give him some love. But yeah, Benny, loved having you in this video, man. Appreciate you being a part of this. So yeah, I don't have too much more to say at this point, to be completely honest. This is just a film that visually is really creepy and just kind of eerie and just kind of gucky, just yucky and just kind of grimy. That's the kind of films that Rob Zombie tends to kind of specialize in. There's a very dark and twisted vibe here. A lot of the characters can come off very over the top and very obnoxious, but I feel like that's definitely the agenda. You have the main regular characters who are in the mix of this, but I never really feel like I feel for those characters, and I think that that's where the film is kind of weak for me. I don't care for any of the characters that are in the mix of this. I'm just kind of waiting and watching to see what happens to them, and in that way, it kind of feels like your standard like slasher kind of horror film, but then it leans back into what I was saying earlier, where you don't really watch this film for the kills. It's not like a Friday the 13th or a Chucky or something like that, where you're waiting for the kills of these characters that you don't really care about, and it's more about how cool is to kill. In this film, majority of the kills are done off screen, and it's just more about the creepy setting, the nastiness of it, and this just very over-the-top hillbilly family that really makes it entertaining. But don't get me wrong, by no means is this a phenomenal film. By no means is this a film that I really can recommend on all levels. I think that if you watch the trailer for this, or even just hear me talking about it, and it sounds like it's not up your alley, then it's most likely not up your alley. This is not an outstanding film on a narrative standpoint. There's nothing to really attach yourself to. However, if you've ever seen Captain Spaulding, played by Sid Haig, who was on the thumbnail for this, and I'm sure he's showed up in some of the clips that showed up here, yeah, you know that there's something about the characters that's just so sick and demented that I find just so intriguing when it comes to horror. And as somebody who loves horror and loves gore and just kind of nastiness like this, I do really enjoy watching this film every here and there. But every time I watch it, I know I'm walking into bad dialogue and not something that's necessarily gripping, just something that's kind of, I don't know, a guilty pleasure, if you will. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be my thoughts on this film. Not a film I can recommend for everybody, but if what I said sounds interesting to you and it sounds like something you may wanna check out, definitely go check it out. Hit that like button if you guys enjoyed this video. Hit the description box down below and find the link for Benny Wan so you guys can go give him some love. Leave your comments down below if you guys have seen this film or if you're interested in this film. Definitely wanna hear what you guys have to say. And I'll see each and every single one of you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.